Hello everyone. Good day, and we are going to be continuing with our tutorial on C programming. Today we are going to take another question. Yesterday we were supposed to deal with this question, but unfortunately, because of our time, we couldn't handle it. But we'll be continuing that in today's session. And at the end, you should be able to know how control statements work. Then you should also know about nested statements. Yes. So that is the idea that we want to learn from this particular lab exercise. So now let's start with the questions. So I'll be taking them one after the other, and I'm using an online IDE for this, but I'm sure in the exams you probably be writing the code. What you need to understand is how to write them step by step. So anytime you write the code, you should be able to understand what exactly it is doing. Yes, so that you can put them all together. Yeah. So now, first of all, the question we are going to be looking at the first question. So the question is, declare two integers, order and time, and initialize them to 0. So I'm just going to my ID right now, clear everything out of this. So over here they are asking us to declare two integers, right, and initialize them to 0. These integers can either be declared inside our main or outside our main. It depends on where we would want to use this value. So if probably we would be using this value in main, then it is advisable to put it in main. So I'm going to be using it in main, so I'll just declare it in main. So the first one is uh, that is int order like this, and I initialize it to 0. The second one is int time, that is also initialized to 0. Yes. Now the next one, so we are done with the first question, right? We are done with the first question. The second one is declare a float called cost and initialize it to 0. So similar to this one, you just say float cost equals 0. These are the easiest parts of the question. Then print on a screen, welcome to Anes fast food, what would you like to order? So I'm just going to copy this code that I would have to print, and then writing a printf function. So let me just give a line and next line. I move to the next line, write the printf function, and paste this particular string that I copied. So that is how it is going to be. Mostly I prefer when I'm writing code to keep running it anytime I make small changes, so that I can know whether it is working or not. So I am trying to run this, but it looks like my network went off again. Okay, so it is back, I think. Yes. So I have a problem. They say printer with some symbols. Okay, so there are some symbols here. This is not actually what we use in C. It is not that kind of quotes with a circular end or something like that, but these are double quotes rather. So anytime you are copying, I'll I think I'll be sharing the drive with you guys, the drive that contains the question. Anytime you are copying this string, make sure you remove those double quotes and put the double quote that is on the keyboard. Yes. So that is what I would want you to rectify. So as you can see, it says welcome to Anes fast food, what would you like to order? Now let's move on to the next step. It says using a do while loop, execute the following statement while order is greater than 0. So using a do while loop, execute the following statement while order is greater than 0. So we just simply first of all put um, the do while loop down. And if you remember, a do while loop, first you bring a do with block, so where the code will go, then you are going to put the while here, and in this while you are going to be having a condition, right? So the order, if the order is greater than 0, then we'll keep doing the condition inside the do. But with the do while loop, you first do the condition inside the do before you come to checking the while loop condition. I don't know if you get that understanding. The code inside the do, you do it first before checking the condition. So anytime a do while loop will run, even if the condition is false first, before it will go and check if the condition is false or true. So in this case, if I put something like I'm just testing something to help you understand what I mean. So if I put something like printf hi do while loop, so I'm just doing something like this. Let's see what happens. I'm expecting that, let me put a new line here. So I'm expecting that this will print hi do while loop even though order is not greater than 0. So this is run first. The do statement, whatever is whatever code is in the do curly braces will run first before we check the condition, right? So take note of that. Now let me take it off because that's not what we are supposed to put there. Now let's go to the question. So question 4 asks us to write a do while loop. Then it says under the question 4 we are supposed to declare an integer menu and initialize it to 0. Declare an integer menu. So let's go above the do while loop. I think it should be okay. Let me first check and see. So declare an integer menu and initialize it to 0. Then B, print on the screen noodles this. Then receive the user's input in the variable menu. Okay, because we'll be doing this in the do while loop, I need the variable int menu to be outside the do while loop whilst I initialize it outside it, because I'll be using it inside the do while loop. So that is where scope matters. What is happening here is the menu variable needs to be available when the do while loop is being run. That is what why I'm initializing it outside the do while loop. Then over here we are supposed to print this out. So I'm just going to be using the print statement, copying this, and then I'm going to say inside the do while loop print f, and then I'm going to pass in the string with the double quotes as well. Yes. So that is it. So when I start running this, or let me run it for you to see what really happens. Okay, there are some errors. Okay, I didn't bring the semicolon here to end the statement. So let me run that again. So as you can see, what would you like to order? And I think there should be some new line here so that we have everything on a new line. So welcome to Anne's fast food. What would you like to order? Then we list out the orders that the person wants, and this is done in like in order, so the code runs from top to down. So as you can see, the do while loop is working even though the order is less than 0. It's not greater than 0. It's equal to 0 but not greater than 0. So the do runs first, as you can see. Then next we are told to receive the user's input in the menu variable. So that is why we needed to declare it outside of the do while. Some people may choose to declare it inside, but it depends on where you would want to use it. I always like my variables to be on top of where I want to use it, so that I can have access to it at any point, or I don't need it to be declared anytime I want to take a value or something. But it will get to a point that when you are writing code, you may need to refactor the code and make some changes. So when that time comes and there is a need for us to put the menu variable inside the do block, we'll do that. So now how do we take values? We use scanf, right? We use scanf. So you can use scanf, then you pass in these double quotes with the how do we call it, with this percentage %d to show that you are taking an integer, then the name of the integer. But if we are using scanf, we always bring this ampersand in front of this the integer we want to take, so that that is how the C programming code recognizes that we are wanting to store a value in the menu variable. So I can try that and see if it is working. So as you can see, there is a blink here showing us that we need to enter a value. So I can say 2, and when I click enter, I think that should end my code. Yes, so that did end my code. And now let's move on to the next statement. Inside question 4, it says if the user's selected option is 1, 2, 3 or 4, print on the screen the waiting time and cost of the selected meal. Then also add the cost of the selected meal to the existing cost of the entire order. Then add the waiting time of the selected meal to the existing time of the entire order. So probably I would like to take this one after the other and see what we can do with this. So now we are told to decide or make a decision based on what the user enters into the menu variable, right? So they are saying if the user enters either 1, 2 or 3 or 4, we should print on the screen the waiting time and cost of the selected meal. Now what I'm thinking is, where should we put the print statement? Should it be outside the while loop, or should it be inside the do while loop? You get the idea? So always when you are writing code, you should know where the code should be, because where it's situated helps you know what exactly the outcome will be. So now let me see if I can figure this out. So I'm going to put this print statement inside the do add the cost of the selected meal to the existing cost of the entire order. So as we know, or as we've done earlier, we have this cost variable, right? So we should know the cost of each of these meals, and I think that was stated at the top here. Yeah, so it is at the top here. So if you select 1, then you are selecting 9 cedi 99 pesos, right? For noodles, fried rice is 11 cedi 99 pesos, 14 cedi 99 pesos for jollof, and 18 cedi 99 pesos for potato chips. So based on any of these values we select, we should be able to get that value, or get that. Yes. And I think the last option, which is 5, was to make inquiries. Okay. Okay, let's see. So the waiting times are also attached to the items or food menu items. So if you are selecting noodles, you should know it's 10 minutes. So we'll be using all those details. So let's go to our code, and first we want to print on the screen the waiting time and cost after taking the value. So what I'll do is, since this menu integer is outside my do while loop, I'm going to put the code outside it because I now have that menu variable available for me after using the do while loop to take the value. Right, I now have that variable available for me, so I can simply print out what I want. And we were asked to print out, let me see, what were we asked to print out? We were asked to print out on the screen the waiting time and cost of the selected meal, right? So let me just put some string here. Waiting time is percent d, because it's an integer, and cost is percent %f for a string. Now waiting time is simply going to be time, then cost will be cost, in that order. Now based on the menu I take here, I'm going to do the calculation for time and cost. So I'm going to update that inside my do while loop, right? So if I select 1, so I'm going to have some if statement here. So if menu equals 1, this is how we find out whether two values are equal. So the 1 equal means assigning a value to it, so you are putting a value into the container. But the 2 equals means you take the value from the container and find out if it is the same as the value on the right. So let's take note of that. So if it is 1, we would want to update our time and our cost. So time will be updated, and how do we do this update? We'll add the time that it takes to cook a noodle, which is 10 minutes, right? So that will be 10, I think 10, yes, 10 minutes. Then if it is, so we'll be having an else side as well. So else, if menu is 2, the time is 15. Else, another else block, if menu is 3, I think for 3, which is going to be jollof, the time is 20, and the last one will be 15. This 20, and then the last one else 20. Else if menu so time plus equals 15. So for the potato chips, we know that that is having a time of 15, yes, 15 minutes to cook. Now let's update our cost as well. So we've just updated the time. Now let's look at how we can update the cost. The cost for noodles, that's 1, is 9.99, and that was why we made the cost to be a floating value, right? So from there I can just say cost plus equals 9.99, and then I'm just going to copy this and paste it in the other sites as well, because it's just the same thing. The only thing that changes is the values. So let me position this well. Okay, so for the number 2, that will be 11.99. so this is 11.99. Then for number 3, it will be 14.99, and number 4 is 18. So this is 14 and this is 18. Good. Now now that we've done this, let's print out our values to make sure that this is working. Okay, so let me select 1 and enter. So as you can see, it says my waiting time is 10 and the cost is 9.99, which means it's working. Let's run this again and see if it is going to work. Let's say number 4, that is the last one. It says the time is 15 and the cost is 18.99, and that is it. I think the cost will be putting some cedis here or dollars. Let me put a dollar symbol here. I think it was cedi, so GHS. So you can run that again to see how it works. So for number 3, it says waiting time is 20 and cost is 14.99. I think I should update this thing. Waiting time should be 14 to be in minutes. It's in minutes, so like 20 minutes your waiting time. Your waiting time is 20 minutes. And as well, I should be updating the number of points that the float should have. I think how to do that is by bringing 0.2 here in front of the float, and I think this should work. So let me try this and see if that works. If that works, then fine. Okay, it doesn't work. I think it should be 0.2. I can't recall how we did that. Okay, so it works. So you put it in between the percentage and the F symbol. So you put the 0.2, and the 0.2 specifies the number of decimal places that you would want to leave out, or you would want to represent your values. So I think that is for receiving and printing and adding the waiting time of the selected meal to the, like we've just finished with number 4D. Now let's look at the E. If the user selected option 5, print on the screen, a customer agent will be with you soon, right? So we are going to put an else statement here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to put it outside of the do while loop, because over there I have access to the menu. So I'm going to say if menu equals 5, I'm going to print out what they wanted me to print out, which is going to be a customer whatever is waiting. Okay, let me copy this. So print F, and then I'm going to remove the quotes and put my quotes in there. Okay, then in the else block, that is where I'm going to put the waiting time and the cost time there. So I'm going to put it over there, so that if the menu is not 5 and it is any of these values, then I can print out waiting time. But if it is 5, I'm going to simply print out the menu. I'm going to print out the customer service agent will be with you soon. So let's try that and see. First, let's okay, there is an error. Where is the error coming from? Okay, I didn't end this printf statement. Actually, I have been working with Python for some time now, so most of the time Python would prefer you not to put in. Python doesn't allow you to put in a semicolon. That's why I'm having that problem, but it's fine. We can just correct that easily. So now let's run it again. So first I'm going to enter a value that is not 5, so let's say 3. So as you can see, it printed something out. Now the next thing is I'm going to enter 5 to see 5. So let's see. So as I entered 5, it printed a customer service agent will be with you soon, and that is what we wanted, right? That is what we wanted. Now let's go and see if we can complete the other side of the code. So we are still on number 4 and we are on F. So else print on the screen invalid entry. So I'm going to be making some changes here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to update this else if statement with the condition that if the menu is equal to 1 or, and how we do or is using this. So if menu equal to 2 or menu equal to 3 or menu equal to 4, then I can print this. So if the menu is any of these values 1, 2, 3 or 4, else then I'm going to print, because in the case where we enter a value that doesn't exist, then we can print out what the message invalid entry, because for sure a user may want to enter a value that doesn't exist, so you would have to think about taking care of inconsistencies in your code. So invalid entry, then I bring some new line. Okay, so let's try that and see. So let me enter any of the, okay, there's an error. Where is the error coming from? Okay, this should be printf. In Python it is print, so I always forget the F, so please pardon me for that. And I think they should be starting soon. Okay, so now let's enter 1 and see waiting time is 10, and I think it's working. Let's enter 5. A customer service will be with you shortly. It's working. Let's enter 120, 121. Okay, 121 and see what happens. Okay, so it prints out invalid entry, so everything is working as we want, right? Please take note that this code I'm writing, someone can write them in a different manner. Someone could have chose to put this printf waiting time is %d inside each of these else statements, but I feel like it will be a lot of code, so instead I can have only one else statement that can do that work for me. Since I'm updating the time and the cost, and they are all outside of the do while loop, as well as the menu is also outside the do while loop. So I can get access to those variables and then easily make my changes. Yeah. Now let's look at the gene in number 4. It says print on the screen, would you like anything else? Would you like anything else? Yes or no. If user select yes, increase order by 1. Okay, that is really a bit tempting. So I'm thinking of how to do this without writing a lot of code. So would you like anything else should be inside our while loop, right? It should be inside our while loop. So what I'm going to do is I'll do this. I'll write this inside the do while loop. So in a way, I'm going to take um, all the values for the particular user, all the things that the user would want to buy, and then after that I can print out the waiting time and the cost. So inside the do while loop, I'm going to say printf. I don't want to forget that f again, so printf, would you like anything else? If so, so it's a question, right? So I want to take an answer from the user. So the answer will be an integer because we are saying 1 for yes and 2 for no. So I can say int option equals 0 initially. So I've initialized it. Then I will take the value from the user scanf percent. So scanf percent d ampersand option, so that I can take the value into the option container or variable. So from there I can make the decision. If option equals 1, then I can increase order by 1. I end that. Else, if any other value, whether 2 or any other value, I'm simply going to break out of this. So else, I'll do nothing. So the else block is not even needed, so I'll do nothing if the option is not 1. So let me put the statement here. Would you like to order anything? Yes, no, whatever. Let me put that here. Let me copy that and put that here. So let me remove these double quotes. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I think this if statement can be inside the do while loop, so I can copy or cut that, and just above the option I'm going to put it here. Let me align this well, and then align this well, so I can put it there, and it should work the same way as it was working before. right? So let me run this again and you see what I'm talking about. So noodles jollof, let me choose 2 for jollof. So it says waiting time is 15 minutes and cost is 11.59. Would you like to order, would you like anything else? I think there should be some um, new line here so that we don't have all that on the same line. So let me add 2 of the new lines. It's taking time to compile, and I think my network went off. That was why it is taking time to compile, but it will be coming soon. Yeah, so it's running. Let me stop this again and run it again. It's still taking time to run. Let me see. Okay, there's network problem. Let me refresh this. So after refreshing, I think everything should be good to go. I paste back my code and run it. Okay, so it says, would you like anything else? 2, waiting time is 15 minutes and cost is 11.99. If I say 1, it will add 1 to the order and then come to check the condition in the while side, which means that 1 will be greater than 0. Therefore we would rerun this again. So let me see. Let me see. So it's asking me again that I should enter the choices that I want. So I can choose, let's say, 3 for fried rice, and the value should be updated as same. So you can see that the time is being increased. 35 minutes, 26.98 Ghana cedis as well. I can choose again 1, and then from there I'll say 5. No, let me say 4 because I'm buying again. Then no for 2. But you could see that there is a bug here. After entering no, it still asks me again. So what I'll do is I'm going to have an else part for the option side, which will set the order to be 0, because the more I increase the order, the likely it will get bigger, and then the likely there will be more options showing up. So in order to prevent that, anytime I say no, I should set the order to be 0, and from there I can end my code. I think I should put a semicolon here. So yes, I say 2, 1, 1, 1, 4, and then I say 2. So I don't want to continue again. So as you can see, my minutes is 40 minutes and the cost is 40 cedi.97. So it's increasing accordingly. If I say 2 now, it should end the code. So as you can see, it is working the way it's supposed to work. Now the next one is, if user select yes, increase order by 1. If user select no, set order to 0 and display the total cost, waiting time of the total cost and waiting time of the order. Okay, fine. Okay, I was already displaying the total cost and order anytime we we ran this thing. So they wanted us to display it individually for each item that we select. So we can make that changes as well. We can make that changes. um, Instead of putting time and cost here, what we'll do is anytime okay. So I'm thinking. So we would want to do this singly, right? So as I told you, writing code is just refactoring. This is to help you understand how if else statements work and things. I don't want to complicate things, so I'm not going to change anything about this. Let's just continue. So the next one is print on the screen, kindly wait for your order. And so I'm going to do that just beneath the while loop. So I'm going to say print f kindly wait for your order. And I'm going to put a new line here and end this with a semicolon. Now the next thing they are saying is using, so we are number 6 now. Using a for loop, display a countdown on the screen from the waiting time to the order to 0, from the waiting time to the order to 0. So we are going to assume that every minute will be like, will count from, let's say, 40 downwards, right? So that is what they want us to do. So in that case, I'll be using I can use a while loop here, but what did they ask us to use? Using a for loop to display, so we need to use a for loop instead. So for int I equals 0, I, okay, since I'll be decreasing I'll be setting, I want to set I to be equal to the time. Then whilst I is greater than 0, I'll keep running this, but if it's equal to 0, then I'll stop. Then I'll decrease I by 1. So from there I'll print out I. So percentage d, then I pass I as the variable I want to print. So let me write countdown here. So let me put some new line here and say countdown time. And let's run this and see if it is working. So let me see, let me buy noodles, then let me buy another one, fried rice, because I like fried rice. Then I'll end it there. So I have 30 minutes. So as you can see, there was a countdown: 30, 29, 28, 27. But you could see that it was very fast. I would like to make a changes here. There is a function called sleep inside C programming. It allows you to delay in every for loop, right? So there's no need for you to know how it works, but I'm just going to use it just to explain how this thing is working for you, just to give you an idea of how this is working. So sleep takes a value like 1 and it keeps delaying, and the sleep, we have it inside the library, so we need to import that library. So the library is called unistd.h. That's the name of the library. So I think from now on I run this, and let me buy jollof, and then I buy fried rice as well. then I stop buying. So as you can see, it's counting down, and it will count down up to 0. Let's see if we can wait for this a little while. I think the time for the video is going, but please pardon me for that, because these are very important concepts that you should understand: how to use while loops, how to use for loops, how to use if statements, and all those stuffs. They help you know how to write codes, and even if you are supposed to write it on paper, it will help you understand how to write that. Yes, so it has ended, right? And that was what we wanted. Good. Now after that, we print on the screen, here is your order. So thank you for whatever. So let me print that on the screen. So outside the for loop, I'm going to say printf, and I'm going to paste this. I should be removing those quotes, and let me run this for you to see. I should put a semicolon here. So let me choose only one. So potato chips, no. So as you can see, there will be a countdown: 15, 14, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And this is done by the sleep function. Actually, it's delaying every 1 second, and then it says, here is your order, thanks for coming. So thanks for coming to Anne's fast food. Good, we are done. Okay, they are saying we should repeat step 6 using a while loop. Apply the rule of the braces where possible. I think these ones, they are not, we don't need those things. We've just understood how to use while and do while loops. We can replace this with a while loop. It doesn't really matter, we are still doing the same thing. Now we know how to use a for loop, you know how to use a do while loop. A while loop is similar to a do while loop. You give it a condition. So as in, if we want to use it here, we can give it a condition that if time is greater than 0, and then within the while loop we'll keep decreasing the time by 1, right? We keep decreasing the time by 1, and that will be it. So that is it for this particular tutorial, and we are ending it here. Thank you for coming around, and if you have any problems, you can let us know. You can comment on our videos as well, so that we know what exactly you need. And if there is anything that you'd like, any suggestion you'd like to make to us, we are very much available to hear your suggestions. Thank you for watching this video.